because I was a member of the Speedway Racing Association. I was one of the rider representatives. You always got paid something whenever you started, even if it was just to start the race and you didn't transfer, then the next you got $5 or $10, depending on what it was. So you didn't make much money, but you made a little bit of money. So it was you never went without making anything. If you could just get past this, if you could just start, get to the first turn, then you got paid.
How much was your sign-up fees? Was it like $5 back then or $10, like that?
Something. It wasn't very much money. I was only 18, so my dad paid for all that. I didn't really care.
It was created in the early 1970s, and the president was Jerry Fairchild, my motorcycle mechanic and tuner.
If you had Jerry Fairchild as your mechanic, you had a hell of a good mechanic because he was a genius.
S.R.A. was created to share the wealth with the riders and the promoters of Speedway.
Well, they made a lot of money in the handicap. I mean, the money was split. Back then.
The S.R.A. was a sanctioning body with rules and regulations.
The big thing was you had to have white pants. That was to get in the pit. You had to have white pants. You have white pants, you can't get in. I don't think they got limited either.
Now, doesn't that make sense? You got to wear white pants to get dirty. I mean,
that's right.
Of this, I mean, this is, and if you didn't have the white pants, what happens, Greg?
You don't get in.
No getting in.
I don't care who you are.
Yeah, it don't matter. And that, I mean, I don't know, was that Fairchild that made that stupid rule up or what?
No. I think that's a rule that was in racing for years and years and years. I mean, back to the 30s, 40s, not just Speedway. I think it's in racing. Class C racing, all the racing, all the motorcycle racing. I remember everybody that was in the pits had to wear white pants. It's just that. No. That's just the way it was.
I think I read somewhere, if I'm not mistaken, that George Wynn helped write the rule book for the S.R.A. Is that true or something? Do you know that or not?
I don't know for sure, but I would sure George put his 2 cents in, and I'm sure Jerry Fairchild did too.
And also, they went ahead and they said what tires you could race, which was the Carlisles. And one of the important things about the S.R.A., it regulated the percentage of money from the gate that the riders could receive. Approximately 30 to 35% of the gate went to the riders to split.
It was a guaranteed $2,000 purse against 30% of the gross gate. 30% of the gross gate at Costa Mesa, when they were getting 5,000 and 6,000 people there on a Friday night, was huge. And it was split. You didn't make any more money, I don't believe, to winning the handicap main as you did than the scratch main. I think they were even. I don't remember exactly, but they were pretty close. So it really made sense if you were in a handicap, to work your way through that and into the main, and you can make some good money. I know those guys. I mean, I had a few nights where you get paid that night. You get paid cash on the regular $2,000, and then the following Friday they would figure out what the overage check was. So it's 30% of the gross gate. Whatever the overage was, you get a check for that for the past week plus whatever you want for that week. And there was some nights when those guys would pull down, $1,500 for one night of racing at Costa Mesa. I mean, I know I made $1,000. I didn't do it very often.
And the top riders of the day were getting very rich.
They weren't start making money when we got 5 tracks going. I was told Mike Bass could pull down $50,000 for 6 months work. And in the 70s, that was a lot of money.
We were making like $1,000 to $1,500 a night. And that was back in the day.
We made more money, or had the potential to make more money than they do now.
That was big money. Today, it was probably worth like $5,000.
You have to take into account that 1970, the dollar was worth like 3 or 4 times as much as it is today. So, I mean, we're talking $1,000 or $1,500 in one night. How much is that worth today, Greg?
Oh yeah, it's huge. I mean, I remember my rent was $150 a month, and I think minimum wage was $3.65.
Yeah.
So,
$3.35. I think it was $3.35 back then.
$3.35, yeah. So, yeah, it wasn't much, but we all lived on it, and we all managed to. And gas was like 28 cents a gallon, so we could afford to drive all over the place. I mean, to drive to Ventura and back was it was like 180 miles, and the next night to Costa Mesa, to Bakersfield and back was 240. Irwindale was close by, wasn't too far, but then we'd all party afterwards at the Irwindale Inn. And so when Friday rolled around, Costa Mesa, it was 40, 50 miles, back round trip or whatever. So, but it was a lot of fun, and it was good to be young and good to have all the energy to do all that stuff. And I wouldn't trade it for anything. It was a really good time for everybody, because the growth and the excitement that was at the race was really pretty crazy.
So can you imagine Speedway riders in America winning $5,000 for winning the main events?
If you rode well and you made the mains, you make some pretty darn good money. And we rode 4 nights a week. We're Tuesday in Ventura, Wednesday in Bakersfield, Thursday at Irwindale, and Friday at Costa Mesa, which was a coup de grace. I mean, you make big bucks there. The other tracks didn't make as much money, and there probably wasn't much overage, if any, but it all added up, and you can make a darn good living riding 4 nights a week, 6 months out of the year.
I attended one of the meetings in Pasadena, California with the S.R.A. years ago as a teenager. It was very boring. They were very serious, and my tuner, like I said, Jerry Fairchild, was the president of the thing.
They actually moved the meeting place from Jerry's shop because it got so big. They rented like this big hall or this big arena. It's actually really close, if I remember right next to the Milne Brothers shop in Pasadena, California.
And I think I could only take one meeting, and I was like out of there. I think I was sleeping the whole meeting.
And I went there as a 16-year-old rider, and I fell asleep during the meeting because it was no place for a 16-year-old Speedway rider. That boring, long business. That was terrible.
Yeah, it was always the riders against the promoters, and nobody's getting, it's not fair, and all that stuff. I mean, it was a typical employer-employee conflicts that were going on.
But they were very serious in helping the riders and making things good.
I don't know exactly who put together the rule book and all stuff, but I'm sure they all had their 2 cents. People that had background and that were a little bit older and had background in racing, I'm sure Harry had probably something to say about it. The promoters.
It's established to help the riders and to have the fair share of the money between the riders and the promoter. So that way everyone would be profiting and making money.
At Costa Mesa, they shared 30% of the gate. That's not the purse. That's just the people that, come in the stadium. How did they divide that money? Did they divide it equally to all the Division I riders, or did they give more money to the winners, or how was that split? Because I have no idea.
Well, I honestly don't remember exactly, but I would think it was proportionate to what it was the regular whatever you won. Like, so if winning the main event was, let's say, the $2,000 guaranteed purse, if winning a main event was 20% of the total of the 2,000 or whatever it might be, then that's how it would be. It would be broken down in the same percentages as so it wasn't like equal. It was still based on, you got more if you won, and so it was all the same. So it was just basically taking that $2,000 and taking the same percentages, but you just had to add all the money together and use it and divide it that way.